Have you ever seen a field report where the guy becomes the living manifestation of wife's daddy issues? Well, you're about to. I had to do some hunting because it's typical of married red pill guys. They come in with their one post, they don't act on anything, and then delete their account and run off and go back to their lives of quiet misery. But hopefully you can learn something from it. This one is Wife is Reliving Her Dad's Battles, and it's from a guy, Married Red Pill Cowboy, which, refreshingly enough, didn't call himself an alpha wolf, which is usually your first hint that one of these guys is going to be a complete ridiculous nonsense man. But to start with this, I witnessed my eldest daughter at 7 do something horrific to my other two daughters who are 2 and 4 yesterday, and I was disciplining her, sent her to a room, revoked her privileges. The oldest daughter can also be a real shit with scratching and biting, running away when being disciplined. Anyways, the problem is that my wife constantly jumps in and defends her and downplays the shit she's been up to. So instead of disciplining the eldest, I'm dealing with a clueless wife who has stuck herself in the middle and is denying any of the stuff that just happened in front of my eyes and saying it didn't actually happen. The daughter uses this dynamic to deliberately get away with everything. Now, my wife's behavior is so ridiculous that I've finally had enough. So later in the evening, I start a conversation, talk about this, have any suggestions? Oh, if you don't like how I'm doing it, how would you rather I did it? She's a stay-at-home mom with 3 young kids, so I figure my approach must conflict with what she's trying to do, and maybe she has some suggestions. The conversation was clueless. Or useless. No actual advice other than, just don't do that. Like, it's helpful, thanks. And the interesting part is that it sort of came out that in my discipline style is identical to her dad's. So now I think she's deciding to refight her dad on all these old battles through me. And at least I think that fits my wife's behavior in these situations very well. I don't think I noticed that my wife has decided I'm her dad and fighting a war by proxy mentioned in the sidebar readings, but maybe I wasn't sensitive to that angle. Can anybody suggest something that might help? Daddy issues. Literal daddy issues, huh? So there's some very obvious stuff screaming out, but I'll get to that in the field report. We'll cut to it there. Yeah, your wife jumping in is just bad parenting. It's like parenting 101. Don't undermine the other parent. And that's a hard boundary. If she has a problem with any discipline you're giving, she should shut up, wait for a private moment, and then talk to you about it. So for all you asses that are terrified of divorce messing up your kids, I want you to think about this. Placating your wife and surrendering common sense boundaries like don't directly contradict and undermine me in front of the kids will fuck your kids up more than your divorce ever could. I'm not advocating going nuclear every time it happens, but your attitude should be more than, sigh, there goes our hamster again. She never thinks about our daughter, and she never thinks she can do anything wrong. Like, seriously, does your wife actually give you shit about your opinion when it comes to parenting? No? Well, maybe that's a bigger problem than your sex life, so think about that. Anyways, back to the op. So you've had enough, and you sat down with your wife and presumably said, I don't like it when you contradict me. Clearly I respond with discipline in a way you don't like, so what can I do to stop getting this reaction from you? It's like, yeah, but no. I get this is some good active listener communication bullshit you probably learned in a workplace management seminar, but this screams of a husband who's essentially afraid of his wife's defensiveness. It's useful to get some inkling that your discipline reminds her of her father, in so much as it tells you she doesn't have the emotional maturity to develop some mental models beyond those she learned in her formative experiences. Oh my god, did Ryan and Jack just reference the women are the most responsible teenager in the house reference from the MGTOWs? Yeah, we did. Everybody's always mad that we think women are children, but this is the kind of stuff we're talking about here, so heaven forbid you understood what the heck we're talking about, but welcome to the conversation. He's like, yeah, so because saying, I guess I react badly because this is what dad used to do and I didn't like that is a bullshit response, if you don't follow that up with thoughts like, is my husband behaving identically to my father or just similar? And what exactly was negative about what my father used to do? Is it possible that my husband is not actually expressing himself in that same negative way, despite his behavior seeming cosmetically so? Is that negative expression objectively bad or just something that she found distasteful? Is it only distasteful because she has a low opinion of him, or is there from other reasons? And then given being married to a man that has similarities to the father is the most fucking cliched thing in his book, what does that say about my decisions and my thinking? And given we have 3 daughters and they'll be just as likely to bake their own mental models about men from him, how can he make sure to support the kids and give them a stable foundation for their future relationship? But no, your wife is going to spend any time thinking about any of that? No. Which is why conversations like you just had are pointless. She doesn't give 2 shits about your opinion on parenting if it's different from hers. And she doesn't even care to deconstruct why that is. She's literally expecting you to operate in her frame and expects you to stop being annoying and shut up whenever you raise the question on why you'd want to do that. The correct answer is not to read books on how to argue with your wife. It's not that blue pill Disney fantasy. It's not that communication is the problem to solve and on that Dr. Oz. Or by challenging you out of some misguided association with her father is not the answer. If you're going to go down the road of overt communication, some recommend that it's always too much verba in related to your acta. Acta non verba, by the way, is the motto of the Married Red Pill. Stop talking and start acting. Well, then you need to challenge the entire premise. What your wife does is deeply damaging. It needs to stop. It will stop one way or the other because you probably won't have much interest in co-parenting with somebody who does this. And your wife will be defensive and aggravated, but that's not your problem. Your problem is living in a household with a wife that shit tests you and a daughter that shit tests you and a wife who shit tests you when you don't let your daughter shit test you. This is literally what's happening. I'm not saying this is to get your boxer briefs in a knot and get you all worked up. It's mostly just projecting my own feelings of parenting that he witnesses in his friends and family. You know, stay-at-home mom feels like she can trivially undermine her husband because she's the one that actually raises the kids, but doesn't set any fucking boundaries or discipline because she's too exhausted chasing after 3 of them between games of Angry Birds and scrolling through Facebook. This structural situation is the crux of the problem and has little or anything to do with any mean words her father said. Jack's like, I'm saying all this because I want to give you the context you may need with everybody else on Married Red Pill when everybody here and their dog tells you to stop operating in your wife's frame. And you are, but this involved things like kids and discipline. So the whole initiate sex and renew your passport and takes a 6 months vacation to Thailand if she turns you down maybe isn't the applicable playbook here. Oddly specific. I don't know where the Thailand thing came from, but whatever. So you're gonna have to figure out a way to be more physically present around your kids. If you work long hours, have a long commute, you may be spending too much time as, you know, a stern disciplinarian, when actually erodes your authority over time anyway, since you come across as the clueless school principal that all the kids know is clueless enough to be fooled anyway with a few minutes of good behavior. Set up some dad time with your kids. Don't worry about your wife's bullshit, because she won't be there. Likewise, if your eldest daughter is doing the same mean girls bullying shit already, then you need to get her involved in something else around the house. Your daughter may just be craving more interaction with the kids in the peer group, and she has bigger issues. So you want to calibrate your parenting based on those other kids, you know, maybe not, but you don't want a tunnel vision that your kid's shit never stinks while your wife is more than happy to. So realize everything in the last couple paragraphs have nothing to do with your wife. If she refuses to communicate like an adult when it comes to parenting, that's not your job to pick out whatever fragments of insight she may have thrown out. People learn through experience. No one remembers the 100 of awkward high school experiences. If you have an academic background, it's tempting to bury your head in some knowledge of an area you're struggling to get answers to, but you're not Sherlock Holmes. You're not trying to deduce your wife's bullshit. You have a family to lead, so lead it. And if your wife can't fucking communicate about parenting, that's her problem. And it's goddamn elementary, Watson. It's a nice quick one. I think this is one of those times where the guy kind of needs the tough love thing. So here's the thing. Parenting 101. Don't undermine the kids in front of the other parent. Every parent knows this. Every parent has talked about this. I'm tired of seeing power dads talk about being your kid's best friend shit. I've just been a dad for 6 months now. It's like, dude, I may not be like the 20-year veteran of parenting right now, but I know a lot of dads who are, and they've told me all about this, and it's common as shit. And all you got to do is listen. The problem with the wife undermining your boundaries isn't that she's undermining your boundaries. It's that you're allowing her to. And he wants to know about what should I read? Again, it's the basic stuff, man. It's assertiveness training. It's when I say no, I feel guilty. It's no more Mr. Nice Guy. It's set your boundaries, establish them. Again, you only have 3 ways to enforce them. Pull your attention, pull your affection, pull your commitment. Commensurate with the strength of the boundary crossing. And those boundaries only have merit if you have a high SMV. So that's where the working out stuff comes in. But just here. So the next time your parent starts doing that kind of stuff to you, You just remember, it's another teenager in the house, the most responsible teenager in the house. Don't let them get away with this stuff, and realize that she's not on your team. Your wife is never on your team. Don't think about it like you're on the same team. You have the same values. You have the same thing. Again, he's thinking about how to raise the kids without fucking them up for life. She's thinking, I hate my dad. Does that sound like the same team to you? No. And that's why none of this has to do with the wife. If you're worried that the wife's going to mess up the kids with their stupid mental models, well, you got two choices. Go parent your kids the way you think they should be parented, or treat your wife like a Swiss watch. Break it down, find all the 15 different reasons that possibly you can fix some things, and then maybe you can fix it. It's like, no. She is not part of the plan. She may not be on the same team as you, but she's going to get with the program, and if she doesn't, start raising the kids as if she doesn't exist. And that's kind of where Jack is going with this one. If your kid has some bad parenting models because she lets mom give her all these things and crosses these boundaries and puts a wedge between you, well, go raise the kids. Well, I work so much. I don't have time for this. Well, do you need to? Like, picture this. You're that guy working 80 hours a week to put food on the table, to put them in a nice house, to get them in the best schools. What happens? Your wife raises the kids to be little monsters. She divorces you anyway because she doesn't feel loved, and now you're paying child support. Now what happens? Well, the courts are like, well, since you spent all this time earning money and she spent all this time parenting, you can pay child support and she can do parenting. Thanks, guys. We're just going to keep things on the status quo. So now not only are you a workaholic, and not only are your kids fucked up, but you're also paying handsomely for the privilege. Consider this. Downgrade your house. Downgrade the amount of work you're doing. Set your sights at your corporate job a little bit lower. But, raise your kids to a standard you like. So that way, if you're worried that mom's going to fuck them up, it's not your concern. Because good dad is there. Good dad is there to let the kids know, hey, I got you. So this way you won't have to be fucked up. And 10 years from now, you got to go pick up a copy of Rational Mail to learn what to do. Like, I got this. You may not have the nicest house. They might not have the nicest clothes. They may get bullied at school for having shabby shoes. But you know what? When they become adults, they're not going to be fucked up. So just remember that. Talk about your goals and realize the way you act needs to reflect on what you're trying to do. And in this case, the guy is saying he wants to raise his family, be happy and healthy. So he needs to start acting according to those goals and not expecting the whole world to accommodate it because he thinks it's a nice idea. Anyways, this is a quick one. There's nothing much to it. Hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.